DJ and PK is proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, remarkable, within reach. Down there in the St. George area, Black Desert, yes. 2 months from now, we will be getting ready for the PGA tournament coming to our state. I am fired up for that for sure. I'll be down there, Black Desert. Check it out because it is remarkable, within reach. RIley Jensen sitting in. Ask the question that you just asked before we went to break.
So, Texas is ranked number 4. Last year, they win the Big 12, and they're in the 4-team playoff.
Yeah.
Is the Big 12 so down that the team that's predicted to win the Big 12 this year is 13th?
Right.
Or is this just the benefit of being in the SEC if you're Texas?
Yeah, the Big 10 and SEC dominating there with Notre Dame, the first 12 teams ranked. And then interestingly, the first Big 12 team is 13th. The first ACC team is Clemson at 14. I have a concern over this.
ACC's Florida State, isn't it?
You're correct. My bad. I didn't have that on my screen. I had the second 10 that I was looking at.
Feels like they've moved.
Yeah, really. There you go. I was looking at from 11 to 20. And that's where you see the...
Where's Colorado in all this? I mean, where's Dion? I thought we're talking... I mean, they have the best quarterback in the world, in the history of the world.
That's a long time.
And they're not even in the top 25?
But they're receiving 2 votes.
Oh,
that
2
Brian
votes.
Howell giving him 1, and who else, Yuck? Yeah.
Dion's brother is in Florida as a reporter.
SMU receiving votes. BYU's got them the second week of the season. I'll be down for that game in Dallas.
Lucky you. That's a nice campus, SMU.
I was there back when the WAC had 16 teams. Been a long time, but I've been there. So I'll be there for that BYU game.
I think that's where BYU practiced when they went to the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Nice facilities.
To me, this raises an eyebrow because are you going to have this? We already have the financial gap there, and I know your mark is going to have practices and games on the moon, so they're going to figure out ways to close the gap, but so is the other guy. If it really works, then Ohio State will have a game on the moon. And so whatever you do to get money, we can do it too. And so they're ever going to close the financial gap. This, I'm not so caught up in this particular season, and it's just a preseason poll anyway, but I wonder going forward here, this is what we're going to see. And so we'll have this playoff, and we'll let you in, but then you get beaten, you're gone. And so from that point on, for the last 3-4 weeks of the season, all we're talking about is SEC Big Ten, because that's devastating to the ACC and the Big 12. We can talk about these teams in August and September, October, November, but when we get to December, it's going to be exclusively about those 2 conferences, because that's bad news, and I'm concerned about that.
Well, I think and I know that you were saying 13th isn't good, and I agree with you in a lot of ways, because how many losses are in front of you to help you move up? And that's only if you're winning every game.
Yeah, but the good thing about it is, you have the opportunity to not worry about that, because if you win your conference, you will be in the playoff.
I know,
and then you'll have an opportunity to win.
But you win your conference, you're in the playoff, but you're the 10 seed and you're playing against the 3 seed? You're the 12 seed and you're playing against Georgia?
Don't they get the high seed if you win the conference, Yock?
So if you win the conference, you're getting like one of the top 4 seeds, 5 seeds?
It's not so much the seeds that I'm worried about, because the seed isn't going to help you win.
No, I know, but it
may help you win the first week, but then after that, it's out the window.
That's the thing about it, is it gets you that first round game at home. If you
that's where I think you worry if you're a Utah fan, though.
I can see that.
You don't want to be too low in there.
Well, I mean, you can't backdoor your way to anything. You're going to have to beat good teams.
Right.
My point is, once we get done with the preliminaries, it's like, are they still going to be alive to be talked about? It's cool when we have the upsets in the NCAA tournament. But a lot of times that team turns around and then loses the next game. Right? And so then as we progress, it's the bigger schools doing their thing, the basketball schools, and away they go. And so they get beat, Not all the time. I mean, San Jose State made it to the final a couple years ago, and they've got a really good program. So, but I think basketball is a little different in that a team like San Diego State can get that far. I don't think a team like San Diego State in football can get that far.
But can a team like Utah,
basketball?
Can a team like Utah go to the national championship now that it's big enough?
In football?
Uh-huh.
I want to say yes.
I hope.
But
I
that's
hope
my.
so.
I think it's my fandom in me is saying yes
I thought you're not a fan. You're a consultant.
of the other team.
Oh.
But I mean, fandom for my friends, my neighbors who are Ute fans, fandom for the show. Not fandom personally. I get nothing out of it. It doesn't matter to me. But fandom for the show, for the community. Like, it was a lot of fun in the community when the Jazz were going into the finals, right? It did nothing for me. I felt nothing, win or lose. It doesn't matter to me personally, but it's more fun for everybody else. You want to go to a good party, not a bad party. And it was a party in this community for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks when the Jazz were going through the Western Conference Finals, going to the NBA Finals. That's all everybody was talking about. It was great for business. It will be great for business if Utah got themselves into a deep playoff run. I mean, from my perspective, I was at the Final Four. It was a blast. I was at the Fiesta Bowl. I was at the Sugar Bowl. I've been at both Rose Bowls. That's fun. So, yeah, I'm going to root for them because it's fun. It's not like I have any personal gratification, but it's fun to have that. And I see my friends who are fans of these teams, and they feel great about it. It's awesome. We all understand that. But I just don't know if they can. And maybe they can do it like this year because this is the last time you'll ever have a quarterback with this much experience who's been with the same offensive coordinator all these years. And in a year or two, it's going to change. And I mean, Kyle's going to step down. He's going to retire. And
Think Andy will step down?
I don't know. I think there's a decent possibility. I don't know. People have told me stuff. But all that stuff will change. Not to say that it gets worse, but right now, this literally could be their best shot because then going forward, if it's so Big Ten SEC dominated, it's bad news. You look at the College World Series this year. It was ACC and SEC, right, at the end there. Those were the only teams. There's 4-4 who went to Omaha. And I grew up in the Phoenix area, right, and there were no Diamondbacks. It was the San Francisco Giants AAA team, and ASU was a big, big deal. Right? So I still know people there, and I follow it. I mean, I used to go to a lot of the games. It's a big deal. And, they were going to the College World Series. When I was there, they won the College World Series. And
did Reggie Jackson play for them when you were there?
Yeah, no, it was a little
later.
Yes, it was in the 80s, not the 60s. Would have been cool to go there then.
I heard he hit a home run at BYU that's like still going.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, with this altitude.
Yeah.
What they're telling me is a high administrator, I don't want to give away, at ASU, literally standing right face to face, told me they lost a punch and Judy hitter. That's his phrase. Punch and Judy hitter. A singles hitter. They lost him to an SEC school over NIL. He said the guy isn't even that good. But they gave him $250,000. He said he's a punch and Judy hitter. He was disrespecting the guy right to my face. I don't want to give away names. I don't want to say where he went. You can fit, because I don't want to get into that. Because he wasn't telling me for publication, but he was giving me background information, telling me that this is what we're facing. And then we saw it in the College World Series when you only had 2 conferences represented. The College World Series isn't nearly as big a deal as football. But the point being that they've got the money and they can take a punch and Judy hitter off ASU's roster that they weren't going to give any money to because he wasn't that good. Imagine they're better players.
Right. Imagine Arizona State having a really good player.
Yeah. They're going to give him way more than $250. And this is from an administrator in the athletic department who told me this. And so it makes me concerned that if it becomes just a 2-conference domination.
In everything.
Yes. And if it matters in baseball to the SEC, which it clearly does, it's certainly going to matter in football, right?
Yeah.
Because the top 5 sports in SEC land are football, 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 football. But yet an SEC program takes a middling guy off the Devils and pays him all that money.
Some things that have been on my radar that are a little bit disturbing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jake and PK, but apparently
it's PK and Jake. But go ahead.
PK and Jake. But apparently it's now going to be 105 approved scholarships for football.
That looks like the direction they're going, yeah.
Well, that whole rule...
It's up to 105.
Okay.
It'll be a roster limit of 105 players. You can offer as many scholarships as you want.
But the whole reason that rule was moved to 85 is so that Nebraska couldn't back in the 80s, they couldn't offer 105 guys and take a star player away from...
Alabama and Paul Bear Bryant did this for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would offer guys that they knew would never play for them so that they wouldn't play for the competition. And we're going back to it.
That's one theory.
We're going back to it so that they can offer so Alabama now can offer the outstanding LDS athlete to go to Alabama. He would have been a star at BYU, and he'll sit on the bench at Alabama for 4 years.
Yeah, but at the same time, he can transfer without any repercussion.
Sure,
So
but we're kind of
different.
going back. We're kind of going back to what we were at. But that's true at every school. Anybody can transfer without repercussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more concerned about the money, not the scholarship. It's nice.
Fair enough, but they're probably going to be able to pay every player too.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
BYU can't pay every player.
Right. This administrator told me this guy, this baseball player, will not play at the school that he is going to. But he's going there for the cash. Now, he probably thinks he can play, but the guy told me, and this guy's a baseball guy, obviously, he told me the dude won't play. And now we got to go out and replace him. So that's my concern. I want, from a competitive standpoint, whether it's Utah, whether it's Kansas State, whether it's Oklahoma State, whoever gets into the playoff this very season from the Big 12, I want to see have success. Now, obviously, I would choose Utah over Oklahoma State because it'd be a heck of a lot more fun for us and our job. We want to see these teams win. I'm a Cougar. I'm a Ute. I'm a Jazz fan.
So you would root for Deion Sanders if he made it to the playoff?
Oh, I've got no problem with Deion. I don't root against Deion. Deion's a showman. You got to take Deion for what he is. He's a one-man circus, an entertainment figure unto himself. So when he's up there, you believe. It's all entertainment. It's nonsense. He entertains me when he was chewing out Ed Warder. Do you believe? Ed Warder's a journalist, man. What does he believe in? He's not supposed to believe in either way. It doesn't matter to him. He's just asking questions. But it was fun, right? So Deion does not turn me off at all. So, yes, to answer your question, sure, why not? Yeah. And believe me, my gosh, if they ever got there, they're not going to get there. But if they did, and I'm speaking this season, The TV people would just be beside themselves. But he's the exception, man. Football coaches aren't like him.
True.
They're grinders. They're not big-time celebrities, I don't think. They've turned into, but at their core, Kyle Whittingham is a celebrity. But he's a football coach, man.
Yeah.
You know, he's not, the celebrity is like meaningless to him. He has to do it because it's part of the gig, but he couldn't care less about that. And if you care about celebrity, you're not really a football coach. That's the way I look at that.
Was Urban?
Urban was. Yeah, he was a celebrity.
But he's also a grinder, wasn't he?
In the early days.
In the early days. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Whittingham's the same guy today that he was 20 years ago.
Right.
And 20 years from now, he'll be the same guy that he is today. Right. You know what you're getting from him every day.
No, Urban was the only outlier that I could think of that, like, and I do think he changed.
Yeah, guys like Patino and all that. I mean, they love that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Whittingham, no. No, he just does it.
Those Italian guys.
Yeah, and they're flamboyant.
they're way into.
They're flamboyant.
You know.
Yeah, and so you can get caught up in that. But a guy like Bronco, when he was at BYU, he hated that stuff.
Right.
You know, I just have a big concern about where this thing is going to go money-wise. I do not want to see these two conferences dominate, and I'm afraid as we move into the coming years and decade that we could potentially see that. Now, Utah gets into that conference, well, then they don't really care, and then it's go time for them, and that's the best-case scenario. But there's going to be a whole lot of other schools.
Do they fit the SEC or the Big Ten better?
No, I think Big Ten. Yeah. I think it's some variation of whatever it is when we get to 2030-ish, they're going to be there. That's my own thought.
The SEC has made it very clear they only want adjacent states to where they already are.
Right, because they can. They don't have to.
Sure, yeah, because they can, yeah.
They don't need it. So I don't see that. All right, we're going to talk about the Jazz with Larry Markkinen, with Brian Getzeiler, who is an NBA expert. See him all over the place as far as media goes. He's coming up next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.